Three Kings, the forbidden ritual that reveals future secrets but could lead you to hell. Ella stood on the weathered dock, her feet barely touching the splintered wood. Waves crashed against the shore, a chaotic symphony against the backdrop of her childhood village. It was a small, tight-knit seaside place, a realm of fishing boats and old stories where the air felt heavy with secrets. Today, it felt heavier still. Her mother was gone, and the sense of loss gnawed at her, deep and unending. A chill wind tugged at her hair like a whisper, beckoning her closer to the mysteries hidden within the ocean's depths. As Ella walked back to the little house her mother had once filled with laughter, an unsettling question bubbled up within her. What had her mother been hiding? When Ella sorted through the clutter in her mother's study, she stumbled upon a stack of journals, their wrinkled pages yellowed with age. The first entry pulled her in instantly. Words danced across the page. T.O. Tom's silence spoke volumes. As if sensing her turmoil, he stepped closer, lowering his voice. Not every secret is meant to be uncovered. Some truths can lead to hell. Her heart raced. What was he trying to warn her about? The mysterious ritual? The man her mother loved? As the night deepened, the stars emerged, distant pinpricks of light in the dark tapestry above. Ella felt an uncanny mix of dread and fascination. What had her mother unleashed with her choices? The wind howled, and for a moment it felt as if the sea itself whispered, teasing the boundaries of reality. Ella clenched the journal in her hands, determination flickering like a candle. She had to know. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button down below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to. Tom looked out to the sea, the moonlight glinting off the surface like scattered diamonds. Some things are better left buried, Ella. Revelations like this can drown you. Drown me? Ella echoed, incredulous. You think I'm just going to let this go? My mother was involved in something dark. I have to understand. He studied her face, his sky-blue eyes troubled. You really don't know what you're getting into. Then tell me, she urged, frustration surging within her. What happens if I continue? A long pause hung between them, heavy with unspoken truths. Then, as if a wave had crashed over him, he seemed to collapse inward, shoulders slumping. Fine, he whispered, almost to himself. If you're set on this, you should know something. The last person who tried to uncover what your mother was a part of didn't come back. Her pulse quickened, not from fear, but from an intoxicating mixture of courage and defiance. Who? What happened? Before he could. You need to come! Quick! She gasped for breath, her knees shaking. It's your mother's! There's been... What's happened? Ella pressed, her heart racing even faster. A terrible thought gripped her. Is it about the ritual? Yes. You have to see, please. Without waiting for more, Ella took off after Mrs. Collins, Tom close behind her. Fear and adrenaline fueled her every step, the old wooden dock creaking ominously beneath their weight. They stumbled into the heart of the village, where a small group had gathered outside her mother's old home, a familiar house that suddenly felt foreign. As they pushed through the crowd, a scene unfolded before them. A body lay sprawled on the ground, lifeless and pale. Ella's throat constricted. A man in dark clothing, slick with the salt of the sea, his face hidden beneath a hood, lay motionless. Her breath caught in her chest. She knew that man. "What happened?" she gasped, but the words were stolen by the shock that coursed through. "What's going on? Was it a storm accident? We shouldn't have let anyone out there. Was he really part of the old tales?" Ella's heart raced again. The air grew thick with fear and suspicion. She turned, searching for Tom, and he stood back, his expression a mix of horror and conflict. But she could see something slipping in his eyes. Was it fear for her, or a recognition? "What do you know?" she shouted at him, desperate now for answers, for clarity amidst the chaos. "It's what I didn't want you to know." He stumbled over his words, eyes darting away from hers. "Your mother, she didn't just keep him hidden for reasons you're thinking. She made a choice." "Stop, just stop." Ella held up a hand, overwhelmed by the weight of the moment. "Tell me what choice. What did she do?" But before he could reply, a figure emerged from the shadows. Another local, old Tom Fisher, the village historian. He looked like he had seen a ghost, and his lips trembled as he spoke. Wait, did he know more? Had the weight of secrets sent him fleeing? The crowd began to chatter louder, voices blending into a chaotic symphony around her. Questions spiraled in her mind, each one heavier than the last. What had her mother gotten caught up in? What did Tom know? And most importantly, why wasn't he there when she needed him? As all those thoughts crashed and churned like the waves against the dock, Ella bit back her rising fear. With a flicker of determination, she turned back to the body. This was just the beginning, but it felt monumental. She had to know what twisted knot her mother had tied in life and death. And that journal, it wasn't going to remain hidden any longer. Just then, a low rumble echoed across the sky. Thunder cracked, and Ella looked up, realizing the storm was far from over. The sea was angry tonight. The clouds began to churn, mirrored chaos reflecting the turmoil within her heart. She sensed the ritual shadow casting over her, a warning. The shock was still heavy, but something deeper lurked just beneath the surface. "Maybe it's an accident," one of the villagers offered, his voice trembling, doubt flickering in his eyes. "It could have been just a fall." He was close to the edge by the shore. No one believed that. Not when the stories danced through the village like fireflies in the twilight. Ella took a shaky step back, her instincts screaming at her. This man, the stranger from the journal, was no mere fisherman swept away by the tides. Her gut twisted. There was darkness here, something that transcended mere fate. Tom Fisher, the historian, continued to glance around nervously, his skin pale under the shadows. "We can't just stand here. This isn't right," he stammered, casting nervous glances back toward Ella, as if the truth was smoldering just out of reach. He sounded like a man on the brink of collapse, panic tightening his features. "What do you know?" Ella pressed, her heart racing. "I have to go! You don't understand!" he yelled back, fear lacing his words. "Understand what? Tom, stop!" Ella's voice was a high-pitched, frantic mess as she pursued him. She didn't know if she wanted to protect him or demand that he face whatever monster lurked just beneath the surface. Suddenly, a loud voice called out from the crowd. "Look!" A younger villager pointed toward the sea, where the waves roared and crashed against the rocks. Ella turned just in time to see something rise from the waters. A shape, thick and black, breaking through the churning waves like a creature from the depths. And then it happened. A flash of realization struck Ella like a lightning bolt, a flicker of memory rushing back. Her mother's cautions echoing in her mind. The talk of the three kings weaving through whispers of danger, of the ocean always demanding a price. "What in the world is that?" came a voice. Trembling in disbelief, others gasped, staring wide-eyed at the emerging shadow. "Mark! But you!" Ella stammered, her stomach twisting. "We thought you—" "I was taken," he interrupted, voice trembling, eyes darting, as if he were trying to piece together an impossible puzzle. "I need to explain. This is serious." But the moment of reunion was shattered as the storm roared above them. "You don't know," Tom shouted, suddenly returning to her side. "You can't trust him. Not after all this time." Mark's gaze narrowed, fear turning into anger at Tom's accusation. "Stay away from her, Tom. This isn't about you," he spat, his voice dark and confrontational. "Then tell us what happened," Ella pressed, urgency prickling at her skin. "Why did you leave? Why was there no word?" Mark clenched his jaw, biting back whatever secret surged to the edge. "I couldn't. It was complicated. After everything with Mom, she was involved in things beyond her control. I knew things I couldn't tell you." "Like the ritual?" Ella pressed. "Did you know about it?" "If only I had known. She tried to protect you." "You don't get to decide what she did right," Tom cut in, stepping closer, fists clenched. "This is bigger than all of us." "Then tell me," Ella shouted, emotions boiling over, desperate to bridge the chasm of lost years. "What's happening? Why did you disappear then come back? What's the connection?" "Your mother didn't just keep me hidden, Ella. She was the one who—" Then, without warning, the strange shape that had emerged from the waters moved again. A gurgling, monstrous roar echoed from the ocean, drowning out Mark's voice, turning heads in sheer disbelief and horror. A massive tentacle erupted from the depths of the sea, crashing hard against the rocky shore. Gasps turned into screams as the villagers scattered, fear gripping the heart of their tight-knit community. Ella stumbled, instinctively reaching for Mark's hand, pulling him close as they backed away from the roiling chaos. "We have to move!" Tom yelled. No!" Ella shouted, voice rising above the mayhem. "Tell me what you mean. What did she unleash?" Just then, a blinding light shot forth from the darkness, illuminating the monstrous form that writhed before them. In that moment, it felt as if everything froze. The power it radiated made the air crackle with energy. Mark's expression shifted, his eyes widened further, realization dawning. He turned to Ella, horror etched into every line of his face. "We have to run. It's a—" But before he could complete his warning, the light enveloped them all, blinding and immense, washing over them like a wave. Ella screamed, the sound ripped from her lungs as she felt everything shift. Victory? Despair? Something far darker than she had ever imagined. And in that instant, the world around them shattered into fragments, pulling her, Tom, Mark, and the crowd into an unknown, a truth waiting to be uncovered, a price yet to be paid. As reality twisted and turned, Ella's heart raced. She gasped as the figure looming above her morphed. "Ella!" Mark's voice broke through like a lifeline. She turned, ready to rush to him, but she froze. He wasn't alone. Another figure emerged from the sea, slick as oil and sleek against the night. It glinted under the fading moonlight, rising to join the fray. Ella squinted, her mind racing. "No, it can't be!" A wave of horror gripped her as she recognized the second form. As it lunged forward, jagged and fierce, The crowd reacted in shock. A horrible truth bared itself before them. It was a creature, monstrous and twisted. But the face. Ella's heart stopped. The beast bore a chilling resemblance to her own mother. "Why?" she whispered, dread pooling at the pit of her stomach. "What happened to you?" The thrumming chaos around her faded as the creature writhed, grotesque and beautiful all at once. Eyes that once held warmth now were filled with an abyssal darkness. Was this the result of the ritual? "Mark, L. I swear!" His voice trembled beneath the weight of their shared past. "She couldn't have." "Enough!" Tom shouted, his voice cutting through the tension like a knife. "We don't have time for this. It's what she wanted. This is the price, Ella. The darkness she toyed with." Ella's heart raced faster, each word like a blow. "No, you don't know what you're talking about." She took a staggering step back, wrestling with her emotions. Always digging deeper, but never expecting this. As the creature thrashed, the truth unfolded before her. It wasn't just the ritual. It was all her mother's choices, every secret she had kept, the sacrifices, the binds. What had she unleashed upon them? Suddenly, the creature let out a deafening wail, one that echoed through the air, freezing the villagers in their tracks. Murmurs of fear morphed into frantic chaos. Someone screamed, pointing toward the water once more. Another figure was rising from the depths. As the surf crashed, a third crawl. The ritual. It's corrupted everything. If you dig deeper, you might. Might what? Discover more deceit? More lies? Fear coiled tighter around her, a lifeline pulling her deeper into despair. She had spent so long searching for the truth, only to find this. But as the creatures prowled, their monstrous shapes twisting grotesquely, Ella felt a stir of something else, a flicker of defiance, sparked by familial loyalty. There was more. This darkness racing across her veins. Was it hers? "I will not run!" Ella shouted at the gathering storm. When the air thickened around her, a shattering explosion erupted from the ocean. A sudden dark wave roared skyward, crashing across the shore. In a blink, Ella felt something crash into her chest. A blinding flash. She gasped, her vision blurring as the world spun, colors melting into dark shadows. Voices echoed around her, familiar yet distant. She felt a pull towards the ocean, not in fear, but in a premonition. As if the wave had. He urged, urgency etched across his features. "You have to." Then couldn't hold back any longer, burst forth. "You have to understand everything is connected. Our mother, she isn't just gone, she's been reborn through the darkness." "Reborn?" Ella echoed, confusion blossoming into realization. "What do you mean?" Yet before Mark could explain, the third creature surged forth, the monstrous play of its slick, dark skin reflecting the moon. "No!" Ella screamed, trying to pull back, but it was too late. The creatures closed in, wrapping her in their shadow and despair. Just as all seemed lost, a roar erupted from the depths, deeper than the creatures, deep like soul, the kind that tore through reality itself. The ground shook beneath them, and the air grew thick with heat and energy. At that moment, everything changed again. The mystical beings opened their monstrous mouths, and a chorus of voices poured into Ella's mind. Ancient, chilling. They spoke not just to her, but them. But she couldn't be part of this nightmare. Her pulse thundered in her ears, fear gripping her heart. What were they asking of her? Could she possibly bind herself to this chaos? "No," she screamed, pushing against the tide. "I refuse." Suddenly, the world shifted. Each creature pulled back, the hold over her diminished. Then, in a heartbeat, everything vanished. The landscape jumped like a fractured mirror, shifting, then crashing back into calm. Ella found herself alone, drowned in a silence that thrummed like a heartbeat, the creatures nowhere to be seen. Her heart sank. Were they gone? Had she escaped? Or was it just a facade? "Mark?" she called out, voice trembling. "Tom?" No answer. Just shadows and whispers in the dark. Her mind reeled, grasping for clarity, but all she felt was darkness closing in again. The storm howled in the distance, promising that no matter how deep she dove into the secrets, there would be more waiting, more hidden beneath the surface. The tide whispered against her feet. She felt its secrets calling to her, pulling her deeper. And for just a moment, light flickered through the dark, a thread of hope piercing through chaos. But the answer remained locked, a riddle spiraling into uncertainty. Ella clenched her fists, determination rising within. This was just the beginning. Yet the cost, what would she have to sacrifice? As the night closed in, shadows danced around her, leaving her breathless. Only time would tell, and in that uncertainty, a spark of truth beckoned. What lay ahead in the darkness? It was only the beginning. Ella stood at the edge of the shore, heart racing. The night was thick with the smell of salt and fear. The sky was dark, swirling with clouds that felt alive, echoing the storm within her. The shadows of the creatures had faded, but the weight of their presence lingered like an unanswered question. She breathed in, trying to ground herself. Mark and Tom were still close. "Ella!" Mark yelled out in a mix of desperation and urgency. Her heart ached at the sight of him. "We need to figure this out. We can't just stand here." His eyes were wild, filled with a mix of fear and anger. She could see in his gaze a turmoil as deep as the ocean. But what did it mean? Was he here as her brother, or as something else entirely? "Shouldn't you be helping the villagers?" Ella shot back. "You appeared out of nowhere. I thought you were dead." A shadow crossed his face, realization dawning. "I was. It's complicated." "Complicated?" Ella echoed, frustration bubbling within her. "You've been gone for years, and you waltz back into my life with a monstrous secret? My life is complicated enough without this." Suddenly, the air shimmered. Something shifted in the distance. It was a light, bright and almost blinding. Ella squinted, instinct kicking in. The ocean surged, waves crashing violently against the rocks. And at the center of the stow, panic seized her heart. What more could this night hold? She and Mark exchanged a glance. If he was in danger, then so was she. Their lives were woven together by a thread far too thin. The water parted, and another silhouette surfaced. A woman. But not just any woman. Ella felt her breath catch. It was her mother. Or at least, it looked like her. The resemblance was uncanny, but there was something off, something dark swirling in her mother's eyes. "Mom?" Ella whispered. The tremor in her voice, palpable. "Stay back, Ella," Mark yelled, pulling her closer, his grip tight around her wrist. "She's not who you think she is." But Ella couldn't tear her eyes away. The figure before her was wrapped in shadows, the edges of her form flickering like a candle in the wind. "Ella," her mother's voice rang out, smooth but chilling. "Come closer. I have something to show you." Confusion twisted in Ella's chest. "What do you mean, show me?" She hesitated. "Everything is gone. You have to trust me." But Ella was lost. The pull was stronger than ever, and she felt the longing to understand. "What do you mean? What have you done?" Suddenly, there was a thunderous clap, and the creature raised its head higher, the features becoming clear. It looked monstrous and beautiful all at once, but its eyes were dark, depthless, voids that threatened to consume. "Your mother made a choice," it uttered, while her voice echoed in unison. "She defied the natural order. And now we are bound together." "No!" Mark shouted, stepping in front of Ella as if he could shield her from the truth. "You're lying." His voice trembled, fear clouding his judgment. But Ella felt the truth in her bones, a warm surge igniting her spirit. "What do you mean, bound together? You were the one who led us to this, to reveal everything." The creature smiled, or grimaced. It was hard to tell. "Your mother understood the power of the ocean. She knew how to summon us. She sought the T. You both are the keys." A sickening sensation curled in her gut. Was this really her mother? The shadows battled for dominance in her heart, leaving her gasping. "What do you mean, the keys?" "Enough!" Mark yelled, desperation clinging to his voice. "You're not my mother. This isn't the way. We need to leave." Rotating in a whirl of emotions, Ella felt the wind shift dramatically. The warm ocean breeze transformed into icy fingers that prickled along her skin. She turned to Mark, convinced he didn't understand. "Why? What are you afraid of?" "Because it's all a lie, a trap. For hell's sake, we need to go." His face fell, raw emotion surfacing as he took a hesitant step backward, avoiding her gaze. The ground shuddered, and with it came an unholy roar from the depths of the ocean, a sound that felt primordial. The earth threatened to swallow her whole, the very fabric of reality bending around them. "Ella!" her mother's creature echoed, voice sweet and deadly. Reality. Torn, she looked back at her mother's form, what was left of her, the connection they shared tinged with shadows. "No! You have to understand, they are stronger," he screamed, voice warping, eyes glowing with a light that sent shivers dancing down her spine. "Stop!" Ella cried, tears streaming down her face. "Stop fighting!" But it was too late. With a final pulse of power, Mark's body convulsed, and the shadows poured into him, dark, swirling, intertwining. The light that had once been familiar faded, leaving only a hollow shell. He had become one with the darkness. Ella fell to her knees, heart shattering as the storm raged overhead. Her truth, her hope, everything slipped through her fingers like sand. "Join us, Ella," the creature beckoned, wrapping shadows around her like chains now that Mark was no more. The truth swirled around her, threatening to pull her down into despair. With a raw scream, calculated survival fought against her need for connection. "No," she gasped. "I refuse." The shadows recoiled, surprised by her defiance. "You cannot escape. You belong with us." The waters roared around her, the sky lit with flashes of thunder, as if the universe itself responded to her declaration. But the shadows surged forward, threatening to envelop her whole. And as the storm raged, Ella felt the true nature of her choices skimming the edges of her consciousness. There was more at stake here. so much more than she ever realized. "Come to us," the darkness cried. "Be part of the eternal cycle." But in that dark madness, a voice inside her rose, a voice of hope. "I will fight! This isn't over!" And just like that, everything shifted again. The storm raged on, but amidst the chaos, something was changing. She sensed a power rising, a connection only she could harness, a path leading her away from the darkness. But as she stood there, trembling amidst the chaos, she knew one thing for certain. Everything she thought she knew had just been turned inside out. The revelations coiling around her felt endless, twisting and turning like the rough waves. But there was an emptiness, a chasm between them that felt insurmountable. What truths had yet to be uncovered? What had her mother really unleashed? And what was this strange abyss pulling at her heart? The air around her shifted. It felt charged, as if the world was holding its breath. She glanced back towards the village, where lights flickered like a distant dream. The faces of the villagers blurred into one, each whispering her name. Each voice dripped with the fear of the unknown. "Ella!" Mark yelled out in a mix of desperation and urgency. Her heart ached at the sight of him. "We need to figure this out. We can't just stand here." His eyes were wild, filled with a mix of fear and anger. She could see in his gaze a turmoil as deep as the ocean. But what did it mean? Was he here as her brother, or as something else entirely? "Shouldn't you be helping the villagers?" Ella shot back. "You appeared out of nowhere. I thought you were dead." A shadow crossed his face. "My life is complicated enough without this." Suddenly, the air shimmered. Something shifted in the distance. It was a light, bright and almost blinding. Ella squinted, instinct kicking in. The ocean surged, waves crashing violently against the rocks, and at the center of the storm, a new figure emerged from the depths. "Look!" Tom shouted, pointing. "What now?" Panic seized her heart. What more could this night hold? She and Mark exchanged a glance. If he was in danger, then so was she. Their lives were woven together by a thread far too thin. The water parted, and another silhouette surfaced, a woman. But not just any woman. Ella felt her breath catch. It was her mother, or at least it looked like her. The resemblance was uncanny, but there was something off, something dark swirling in her mother's eyes. "Mom?" Ella whispered, the tremor in her voice palpable. "Stay back, Ella!" Mark yelled, pulling her closer, his grip tight around her wrist. "She's not who you..." Confusion twisted in Ella's chest. "What do you mean, show me?" She hesitated. "Everything is connected, my child," her mother continued, the words wrapping around Ella like a warm embrace. "The darkness, the ritual, it's all a part of our family's lineage." Mark stepped forward, panic etched into every line of his face. "No, you can't! It's a trap! You have to trust me!" But Ella was lost. The pull was stronger than ever, and she felt the longing to understand. "What do you mean? What have you done?" Suddenly there was a thunderous clap, and the creature raised its head higher, the features becoming clear. It looked monstrous and beautiful all at once, but its eyes were dark, depthless, voids that threatened to consume. "Your mother made a choice," it uttered, while her voice echoed in unison. "She defied the natural order, and now we are bound together." "No!" Mark shouted, stepping protectively in front of her, as if he could shield her from the truth. But then, Mark! He struggled against the dark coils, a look of pure fear washing over his face. Ella, you have to run! I can't fight this! Desperation filled her lungs, suffocating her. What's happening? Fight it! No, you have to understand. They are stronger, he screamed, voice warping, eyes glowing with a light that sent shivers dancing down her spine. Come to us, the darkness cried. Be part of the eternal cycle. But in that dark madness, a voice inside her rose, a voice of hope. I will fight. This isn't over. Just like that, everything shifted again. The storm raged on, but amidst the chaos, something was changing. She sensed a power rising, a connection only she could harness, a path leading her away from the darkness. But as she stood there, trembling amidst the chaos, she knew one thing for certain. Everything she thought she knew had just been turned inside out. The revelations coiling around her felt endless, twisting and turning like the rough waves crash. The answer was waiting, and with it a darkness that could either consume her completely or reveal the truth she desperately sought. She braced herself, knowing it was only the beginning, and the storm showed no signs of easing. Then, in an instant, the ground trembled violently beneath her feet. A low rumble echoed, not from the sea, but from the earth itself. It felt as if the very foundation of reality was cracking like glass. Ella's heart raced, and she stumbled back as the world around her shifted. A dark fissure split open at her feet, yawning wide like a mouth ready to swallow them whole. Tom shouted something, but the words were swallowed by the rush of wind and the crashing waves. Ella! Mark's voice broke through the chaos, filled with terror. Stay away from it! But it was too late. A force surged from the crack, pulling her towards the darkness. The shadows enveloped her, whispering promises of power, knowledge, understanding. She felt the urge to give in. A figure emerged from the crack, larger than life, enveloped in shadows, yet strikingly familiar. Ella's heart dropped as disbelief washed over her. Dad? She murmured, dragging herself closer to the light emanating from within the dark. Yes, Ella, came his voice, low and deep, yet laced with the warmth of a distant memory. I have waited so long for this moment. Tears filled her eyes as he stepped closer. The echoes of their past flooded her mind. The laughter, the warmth, the long-lost embrace. But you disappeared. You were gone. How can this be? The ocean has secrets, Ella. Secrets that connect us all, he said, his face shrouded in darkness. I was taken to safeguard the truth, to protect you. Confusion raged inside her. How could he have known? How could he have been a part of this chaos? You were part of this? She cried. You let it happen? Mom didn't just summon darkness. She was trying to bring you back. Everyone had a part to play. Love. This can't be true. I won't believe it. But deep down, she was drawn to the truth peeking through the shadows, the unraveling of her family's history beckoning her forth. You have to choose, Ella, her father urged. You must embrace what your mother has unleashed, or face the consequences. As the shadows pulsed around them, time stretched, every breath heavy with the weight of the moment. Ella felt a choice looming over her, heavier than anything she had ever faced. It was a choice wrapped in lies, layered in darkness. In a flash, Tom reached out and grabbed her wrist. "Don't be swayed. They lie. This isn't love. It's manipulation." But Ella couldn't tear her gaze from her father. Something inside her screamed for connection, a yearning that transcended the fear. "What do I do?" she cried, desperation tinging her voice. "What if it's all a trap?" "We are family," he said simply, his dark figure drifting closer, illuminating the fear on Ella's face. "We are bound to." "What if," she started, but the words hung heavy in the air. Suddenly, Mark convulsed again, a cry escaping his lips. The shadows tightened around him, pulling him further into the depths of darkness. "Ella, you have to stop this!" he screamed. And it hit her like a tidal wave. Mark was her brother and her guide, yet he was trapped in the same darkness that threatened to swallow her whole. With a final burst of energy, Ella felt something shift within her. She lifted her chin, steeling her resolve. "No, I choose my family. I choose light." With that declaration, everything exploded. The world dimmed and twisted, a violent torrent of light and darkness clashing in an all-consuming tempest, shaking her to her core. And in that moment, the crack widened. A surge of energy erupted from the darkness, flinging her backward. She fell, tumbling in a wild rush through currents of light and dark. "Don't let go," her father's voice called, distant yet clear. "You belong with us." As she spiraled away, tumbling through the chaos, she felt it all. The darkness and light, each pulling toward a singular destination. She landed hard on the wet ground, gasping for breath. She was alive. But everything felt different now. Heavier, weighty with secrets, unraveling in the depths of her memories. Mark lay sprawled nearby, still trapped in shadows. She scrambled towards him. Was this the end? "Ella," he whispered, voice strained, a flicker of light in his darkened eyes. But as she reached for him, the storm howled in despair, answering her unasked question. The price of truth was high, and now she could see only shadows. This journey was far from over. In that moment, Ella understood. Everything she once believed stood on the precipice of a new reality. And as the echoes of the storm rumbled once more, a haunting question clawed at her heart. In the end, what did it mean to belong? What lay waiting in the shadows of her family's history? The answers had only Jay. His words lodged themselves in her mind. Could it be true? She feared the darkness, but she feared losing him even more. Her heart wrenched. "I won't leave you!" But it was too late. The shadows surged, tightening their grip as a blinding flash of light exploded around them. Ella shielded her eyes, stumbling backward as the light split the air. An ear-piercing rumble followed, drowning out the storm's fury. She felt the ground tremble beneath her, and the crack in the earth opened wider, releasing a surge of energy that knocked her off her feet. Through the chaos, she caught sight of something. No, someone, emerging from the depths of the darkness. A shadowy figure, towering and imposing, stepped through the crack of reality. Her heart fell as the figure grew nearer. Something about it felt all too familiar. "Stop!" Ella screamed, pushing herself up from the ground. "What are you?" But as the figure emerged from the darkness, the storm stilled. A calm wrapped around him. Learn what? Ella felt her hands trembling, doubt slashing through her. "What have you done? Why are you here like this?" I am here to set you free, her mother replied, a strange glint in her eye. To give you the power to embrace your true self. Power? Mark shouted, fear boiling over. You're lying. You've done nothing but bring destruction. Your darkness can't be trusted. Her mother ignored him, her gaze fixed solely on Ella. You possess a unique strength, my dear. You were destined to embrace this darkness. Accept it, and you will rise above all others. Ella took a step back, confusion mingling with fear. What do you want from me? Everything, her mother said simply, a lethal smile spreading across her face. But first, we must sever your ties to this place. The truth lies beneath the surface, waiting for you. Before Ella could respond, the shadows roared and the ground heaved again, shaking violently as Mark was thrown back. He struggled, gasping. No, her mother snapped, anger flaring. You're too late. You're trapped here with me, Mark. You will never leave. A ripple of energy surged through the ground, and a monstrous wave of darkness crashed upward, threatening to engulf them all. Ella felt it pulling at her, tearing at her mind, whispering promises of power, of a legacy unshackled from the past. But deep inside, something sparked, a flicker of hope intertwined with love for her family. I won't let you take him, Ella shouted defiantly. I choose to fight. The shadows recoiled, retreating for a brief moment. Light burst forth from her, illuminating the darkness. But her mother only laughed, joyless and cold. Fighting is futile, she declared, her face hardening. You don't understand what's at stake. Stake? Mark echoed, confusion mingling with anger. You mean to sacrifice us? To claim what was never yours? Suddenly, another figure emerged from the shadows. A man, tall and ethereal, stepped in. Ella, stay back, he warned, raising a hand. It's too late for me. The darkness taints everything, but you must fight it. No, her mother shrieked, frustration boiling over. You have no right to intervene. This is mine now. Yours? Ella felt a swell of anger. You're not my mother anymore. You've grasped at something that doesn't belong to you. But just as the words left her lips, a surge of energy pulsed around them, crackling with tension. The shadows pushed forth, engulfing her father, his features twisting into a grotesque mask of confusion and despair. Everything seemed to freeze. Father, she cried, rushing forward, but the shadows had already consumed him. Something snapped in Ella. Her heart shattered into pieces. You monster, she screamed, turning towards her mother. You've taken everything from us. A flicker of pain crossed her mother's face, just for a brief moment, before it turned into a chilling laugh. Everything? No, my dear. This. He forced himself to his feet, struggling. Run, Ella. Don't give in. I'll find you. Mark, But the ground trembled again, the dark tendrils tightening at their heels. In a fit of rage, usually hidden beneath layers of frail humanity, her mother extended her arms, summoning an overwhelming power that enveloped the room. Ella felt the air shift, the very fabric of their reality bending and twisting. This was no mere storm. It was a storm born of hurt and chaos, pulled from her mother's soul. And in that moment of heightened clarity, everything shifted around them. Pieces of memories, of relationships, flickered like lightning. Ella, her mother roared, voice echoing with power. You are the key. You must open the door. Your destiny awaits. Then all at once, time fragmented. The world split like glass, and images bombarded Ella's mind. She saw glimpses of her mother's choices, dark rituals, forbidden meetings, and then a man's face, twisted with a malevolent. The darkness pulsed around her mother, boiling into a furious tempest. "Silence!" she screamed, twisting the shadows into shapes that writhed around them. "You know nothing. I did what I had to do to bring us back together. I'll never be part of this," Ella stated fiercely, standing her ground. "I'd rather fight the darkness than let it consume me." With that declaration echoing in her heart, her own power surged within her, illuminating the shadows. The storm crackled and flickered around them, electric and fleeting. Then, without warning, the ground shook violently. The darkness swirled around her mother, as Mark fought against the shadows with what little strength remained. Everything reached a boiling point, and the shadows erupted, consuming everything around them, as a blinding flash engulfed the world. When the light faded, Ella found herself standing alone in a vast darkness, staring at nothing. For a heartbeat, everything felt still, like the calm after a raging. But she felt the flicker of hope somewhere deep, an ember ready to ignite. "Show me," she demanded. "Show me the whole truth." The laughter swelled again, a cacophony ringing through the void. "You may regret that wish." As darkness swallowed her whole, a gnawing feeling crept through her. Everything, the truths she thought she held, every ounce of hope, was about to be tested in ways she never fathomed. What awaited her in that darkness? She braced herself, knowing it was only the beginning, and the storm of revelations was far from over. Ella found herself suspended in an endless void, a blanket of darkness wrapping around her, pulling her deeper into the unknown. She fought against the shadows. "Where are you taking me?" she screamed into the silence, but her voice disappeared into the depths, swallowed by nothingness. With every heartbeat, her confusion grew. Memories of her mother and their family pain flickered like dying embers. Could the darkness really hold thee? The crowd that had gathered before was gone. Only she stood there, trembling in the salty air, everything still and eerie. A figure emerged from the chaos, shrouded in shadows. Someone she didn't expect to see. "Mom?" Ella gasped, heart racing. But this was not the mother she remembered. This woman was distorted, with eyes swirling with darkness, her features marred by shadows. "Ella!" Her mother's voice rang out, a haunting melody, smooth yet chilling. "You've come back to me." Fear sliced through Ella's chest, slicing her breath away. "The darkness, it's taken you," she realized, stepping back, heart clenching tightly. "You let it take you." "Let it take me?" Her mother laughed, a sound that sent chills racing down Ella's spine. "I have embraced it, my dear. We are bound by blood and shadows." "Bound?" Ella echoed, swallowing hard. "You mean trapped, transformed?" "No, sweet Ella. Empowered. You must learn to unfurl your wings," her mother urged, stepping F. "This isn't power, it's a prison!" "Prison?" Darkness swirled, closing in, threatening to swallow her whole. "You are wrong. You have no idea what we can achieve. You've only scratched the surface." Just then, another figure materialized beside her mother, one that took Ella's breath away. "No, no, no," she whispered in disbelief. It was Mark, his face twisted in fear. Shadows coiled around him, dragging him into the torturous abyss. "Mark, get out!" Ella screamed, her heart shattering. "Ella, run! Go!" he shouted, thrashing against the darkness that threatened to consume him whole. I can't hold on much longer. But she felt anchored, pulled by her mother's presence, caught in the chaos. Ella, you must choose. You'll lose him, her mother declared, eyes gleaming dangerously. Choose what? Ella's voice shook. Between you and my brother? You're both shadows of the same darkness. In that moment, everything twisted and tilted, as if a grand illusion was unrave. She felt the helplessness of trying to grasp at the truth while it slipped away. Join us, her mother said softly, a seductive whisper accompanying a wave of darkness rising around them. You can be more than you were ever meant to be. We'll have a power that transcends this world. Shut up! I will never join you! Ella yelled, fighting back against the tendrils pulling at her, desperation surging as Mark struggled nearby. Then everything exploded once more. The shadows danced violently, the air vibrating with energy. Leave him alone! A wave of heat surged forward, and with it a blinding flash lit up the shore, illuminating everything in harsh radiance. And that's when it happened. In the split second of brightness, an unexpected figure leaped from a shadow. Tom, leave them alone, he shouted, lunging forward with determination as he sprang towards Ella, reaching for her hand. His eyes shone, wider and deeper than she'd ever seen them, filled with unmistakable knowing. It's about choice, about power. And in that instant, a piercing revelation struck Ella, a bolt of clarity that radiated through her, like light breaking through a storm. She realized what was in front of her. It was a performance, a dance of deceit. This version of her mother was not the full truth. Mom, this isn't you! Ella shouted, the fierce energy coursing through her. You're not a monster! You're trapped! But at that moment, fear sliced through the air, mingling with confusion, when a blinding pulse of light surged from deep within the shadows. You're wrong, Ella. Her mother's voice echoed, cold and clinical, filled with darkness. Then the twist came. As shadows twisted and swelled, unseen forces whipped around them. Mark screamed once more. Ella, let the light in! In that moment of chaos, something shifted, like the ground splitting open beneath their feet. The shadows ripped apart, revealing a portal, a tear showing a different scene altogether. What art thou saying? They've been lying to us all this time, she choked, heart racing. The power, the darkness, it was never meant to be destructive. It was meant to... Law of balance, her mother interjected, face contorting with rage. Thou wouldst dare speak of a balance? Weakness! This is our power! But the revelations pierced through the chaos surrounding them. The revelation lighting up every shadow around. I see it now, Ella breathed. It was all about control. Keeping us trapped in fear. This world isn't just darkness and shadows. It's freedom. Freedom to live. Then something changed. The shadows surged on her mother, wrapping around her, as Mark was pulled further into the dark depths. He cried, face distorted in horror. Ella, thou hast to stop this! This is insanity! Ella's heart ached at his cries, but determination surged with a strength she had never known before. She turned towards the portal, beckoning with raw emotion. We have to stop this, her mother hissed, seething with rage, pulling Ella back. Everything felt as though it was colliding with a wall of brutality. Let me go, Ella cried, fighting with every ounce of strength. You have no power over me. Yes, I do, her mother roared back. You were always meant to be mine. Our fate is intertwined with the shadows. You cannot run from this. But just then, a deep rumble echoed through the ground, shaking the very fabric of reality. The shadows unsheathed from her mother, thrumming with energy. Light surged as the balance shifted, soaring through the air and intertwining with the darkness all around. Ella squeezed her eyes shut, trying to wrest herself from her mother's grip. "Fight it!" she screamed toward Mark, who was still contained within the darkness. He needed to hear her. "This is our world. We can make it right again. We can untangle this mess if we work together." "Ella," Mark shouted over the noise, "you have to choose now. This darkness." Time paused as Ella met her mother's gaze. What lay behind those darkened eyes? Fear? Regret? Anger? For a brief second, as the energy vibrated around them, she saw it. The truth behind the illusion. Then, in a shocking moment, the darkness shattered, revealing a glimmer of light. A fragment of memory echoed beneath the chaos. A child's laughter, hands reaching toward each other. A family bonded not by force, but by choice. And with that realization, the whole world exploded into a kaleidoscope of emotion. "You have a choice, Ella!" The voices sang harmoniously. "Make it count." With one final surge of strength, Ella broke free, and in that instant, everything changed again. The shadows twisted violently, pulling at her mother one last time. Her screams filled the air, blending into the chaos as the portal shimmered with possibilities, rippling with light that beckoned her forward. Ella cast a final glance back at Mark, heart aching for the brother she had fought to. This was her moment. This was freedom. But when the light faded, she found herself not in the peaceful world she expected, but still on the stormy shore. The air around her felt suffocating, thick with tension. Where am I?" Ella gasped, scanning her surroundings. The ocean still crashed violently against the rocks. It looked the same, yet different. Shadows moved just beyond the edge of her vision. "Ella!" Mark's panicked voice cut through the chaos. "Get away from her!" Her heart raced as she turned to see him, his face distorted with fear. He fought against the shadows, twisting and turning as they bound him tightly. "I told you to run! They're still here!" she shouted, pointing. Her mother stood at the forefront, dark tendrils swirling around her, laughing softly. "Life is just a game, Ella. Don't be a pawn. Join me," her mother cooed, extending a hand, the dark shapes weaving around it like living fabric. "I won't!" Ella shouted defiantly, determinant. But before Mark could respond, the shadows tightened their hold, writhing like serpents around him. "Ella, listen to me. Something awful is happening. You have to trust me." "What do you mean?" Ella asked, voice trembling with urgency. "Your mother, she's not what she seems," Mark yelled, and at that moment, a crack like thunder echoed through the air. It shook the ground beneath her. Then it happened. A figure emerged from the darkness, pushing its way through the shadows. Ella's breath caught in her throat as the shape took form, looming over them. It was a man, but not just any man. It was her father, the one she had been told was gone. "Dad, is it really you?" Ella gasped, disbelief painting her tone. He stepped closer, radiant and shrouded in both light and shadow. "Yes, Ella, it's me," he responded, but his voice sounded different, echoing with an odd, unsettling resonance. "I've been watching over you." "I don't understand. How can you be here?" "Ella." "Into this reality." Mark's eyes widened in shock. "What are you saying? Is this some kind of trap?" "No, it's not a trap," he argued, but his eyes flickered, a hint of darkness lining the edges. Ella's heart sank. Could her father truly be trusted? "Mom, what's happening? Why are you all like this?" Ella shouted, frustration rising to a fever pitch. Her mother's lip curled into a sneer. "You've been so naive. He isn't just a man, Ella. He was never meant to come back here. He is part of the darkness as well." "No." Ella felt her world unraveling. "You've both done wrong. What have you unleashed?" The sheer weight of it hung around her, suffocating her, as both parents stepped forward, shadows swirling chaotically around them. The scene swallowed Mark as their darkness converged, leaving him gasping, struggling against bonds woven from betrayal. "Ella, you must see the power we can wield together. You have no idea the potential," her father urged, entreating her abat. "You mean destruction. You're lying," Ella screamed, anger igniting within her once more. But another explosion rattled the ground, shaking her to her core. Just then a blinding light erupted above them, and the air changed. Wind whipped violently as a voice thundered from the chaos, deep and resonant. "Enough!" The storm stilled. Ella strained to see, eyes searching the shifting shadows. An enormous figure emerged, an ancient being, cloaked in flames, golden light radiating fiercely. A presence so powerful it seemed to center the very storm around it. "Who are you?" Ella gasped, instinctively stepping back. "I am a guardian," it spoke, voice rolling like thunder. "You stand at the crossroads of reality and illusion." "Crossroads? What are you talking about?" Her heart raced as she glanced towards her parents, desperate to figure out who to trust. "This is your moment, Ella," the guardian continued, voice softening slightly. "You must make a choice. The bond of your people." Then, as if the universe itself chose that moment to intervene, a flash of recognition spread across Ella's mind. She took a step toward the guardian. What if this whole time thou wast the real puppet master?" she breathed. "What if thou wast the true source of darkness?" The guardian tilted its head, watching her intently. "I merely guide the balance, child. It is the path thou choose that will determine the outcome." Panic boiled in her chest. "You mean to tell me this was all orchestrated? You meant for this to happen?" The guardian's eyes sparkled like stars. "Every event hath led thee to this moment, risk intertwining with fate. Thou seek the profound truth. Wilt thou dare to accept it?" "Enough!" her mother shouted, taking a defensive stance beside her father. "You have no right to sway her. Ella is ours." But a different pulse surged within Ella, connecting her to the guardian, illuminating a flicker of hope amidst the chaos. "What does this truth entail?" "You will lose everything." But as the shadows twisted into forms of panic, Ella realized something profound. She had been living in their web this whole time, a pawn in a game that was much bigger than she ever imagined. "Everything I believed was wrong, wasn't it?" she whispered, realization crashing in waves. "Choose wisely, Ella," the guardian urged, shimmering with ethereal light. What will you forge from the ashes? But the ground shook violently once more, and the ocean roared, amplifying the chaos around them. Suddenly, brighter than the storm, a portal split open above them, revealing a world beyond this one. Whispers of laughter, realms painted with magic beyond imagination. "Ella!" Mark shouted, fighting one last time against the darkness, desperation pooling in his voice. "There's still time. We can break free together. You can choose family." "Family," her mother said, voice cold and trembling with anger. "I am your family, and I am so much more." "Ella, promise me you won't disappear," he cried, shadows still cycling around him. Ella's chest tightened, guilt pressing down heavily. "I can't just leave you." But it was too late. The allure of light intensified, and she began to move toward the portal, heart pounding with each step. Suddenly, the earth shifted violently. The shadows around Mark surged, dragging him down further into the abyss. "No, Mark!" Ella screamed, but the guardian raised a hand. "Make your choice, Ella. The door is open, yet destiny remains unshaped." Feeling torn apart, Ella hesitated. What would happen if she dashed into the light? Would she leave Mark behind forever? Awareness dawned, crashing with urgency. An unseen, greater darkness loomed over them. Then came the voice, chilling and wrapped in shadows. "Ella, choose me. Join the darkness forever." The shadows roared, fury and anticipation mingling, ready to claim her in the depths of despair. What was it all for? Ella cried out, "Day!" But that's when it happened. A deafening roar erupted, drowning out every sound. Darkness and light collided in a cataclysmic wave, crashing like thunder. The world around her twisted, shapes melding into chaos. In the storm of the unknown, shapes blurred, and Ella felt her heart leap. Her reality shattered in a whirlwind of secrets, lies, and the faintest hint of hope. With the breakthrough came a jarring sensation, something entirely foreign. Memories exploded, a rush of feelings overwhelming her, revealing truths she never thought possible. "You will never escape!" The voice howled, a cacophony of shadows erupting into the space. Ella stumbled, the world around her erupting into chaos. Everything she believed shattered under the weight of the revelation. "No!" she gasped, struggling as shadows reached for everything she held dear. "I must know!" she shouted into the abyss, fighting back against the tide of darkness. Then she felt it. A tremor ran through the ground. "I will find my truth." And at that moment, the boundaries of light and shadow blurred. What would come next was uncertain, but she knew, like a beacon in the distance, her journey had just begun. The storm howled one final time, shadows and light converging. The world around her trembled with the weight of revelation. Ella steeled her resolve, determined to confront whatever lay ahead. Where would it lead her? She had no idea, but she wouldn't back down now. The truth awaited, and she was ready to face the consequences of what she had yet to discover. Ella stood her ground as shadows whipped around her, pulsing and swirling with dark energy. The chaos of her parents' clash filled the air with tension. Fear and longing twisted in her heart. She was caught between her mother's desperate allure and Mark's cries for help. Every moment felt heavy with expectation. "Enough!" a resonant voice boomed from above. The guardian stood like a pillar of light, a force of nature. The whispers grew louder, urging her to step into the light. but twisted doubts clung to her like a shroud. "Ella!" Mark yelled, his face twisted with pain. "Fight this! We can overcome it together!" His fear was palpable, the shadows morphing with every shout. The guardians stepped closer, casting a halo of light that dimmed the darkness. "Your choice hath immense power, Ella. Here, thou forge thine own destiny." But confusion gripped her. How could she choose? The shadows around her mother surged forward, threatening to consume the light. Ella's heart raced. Memories flooded her. Laughter, warmth, family dinners, and secrets tucked away. A fragmented view of a life that felt distant, yet so familiar. "I refuse to be part of this cycle," she shouted, voice breaking. The shadows around her mother recoiled, taken aback by the force of her conviction. "Join me," her mother cried, desperation coating her words. "You and I could be unstoppable. Think of the power we. Together, they could resist the pull of shadows. Together we can break this," Mark yelled, fire igniting in his eyes as the shadows writhed and hissed. "You have to trust me to trust us." "I trust in us," Ella roared, pulling energy from deep within. Her gaze flicked to the guardian, who nodded approvingly. The portal beside them shimmered, offering a chance, an exit from the darkness that threatened to consume everything. But her mother's expression twisted with fury. "You think you can defy what we are? You're mine, and I won't let you go." Ella felt the shadows tightening, but a wave of light surged from within her, fueled by love, kinship, and the belief that she would not stand alone. "I'll never be yours." The ground shuddered beneath them, and the air electrified. With one last push, she sent the energy swirling toward her mother, a concentrated beam of light breaking through the darkness. "This ends now. You're free to fight this." With a gut-wrenching scream, Ella steadied her breath. "No, it's not, but we will find a way to defeat you, together." The guardian nodded, its form shimmering, seemingly absorbing the light emitted from Ella. "This realm shall be restored. But remember, Ella, the fight may continue." With a final rush of energy, the light coalesced, radiating outward, while the last shadows evaporated, leaving a calm stillness settling over the shore. The anguished cries faded into silence, leaving only the lapping of gentle waves. As the dust settled, Ella blinked, absorbing the reality she found herself in. A horizon painted with hues of dawn opened before her. "Where are we?" she murmured, voice trembling with disbelief. "Free," the guardian replied, fading back into the ether, leaving behind only shimmering light. "You made your choice." Mark pulled her closer, a warm smile breaking through the earlier fear. "We did it, Ella. We're free." She glanced at the intact shoreline, the storm clouds parting to reeve. Mark looked out over the horizon, his expression serious. "I have faith we can. It may take time, but together we can rebuild." Ella nodded slowly, absorbing his strength. "We are the light, and we will fight for everyone lost along the way." Just then, a strange shimmer caught her eye, a ripple in the ocean, reminiscent of the portal from before. An echo of shadows danced just beneath the surface, but faint, almost as if searching for a way back. Squeezing her brother's hand, a resolve formed within her. "Let's go. We must explore this together." They stepped forward, hearts beating in sync, despite the uncertainty that lay ahead. The ocean beckoned, and so did the echoes of destiny. The sun rose higher, washing everything in gold, a promise of new beginnings, but also of mysteries still to come. What they would face next was unknown, and how much further they could go, she could not tell. But in that moment, Ella felt hope intertwine with the vast sea of possibilities be.